Welcome to the Cheating Diaries channel. Winning the cruise ticket was a burst of excitement that took us both by surprise. Megan was ecstatic about the opportunity, and I was thrilled for her. It had been a challenging year, and she deserved a break. I believed this luxurious yacht cruise would be the perfect escape for her. The day she was set to embark on her adventure, I accompanied her to the port. We shared a tight hug, the kind that made it clear how much I would miss her. She kissed me goodbye, her eyes sparkling with anticipation, and I wished her a wonderful trip. Our initial phone calls were filled with Megan's tales of the beautiful ship, the exciting events, and the people she met. She mentioned a particular individual, the captain, whose name was Jackson. She described him as charismatic and courteous, and I was glad she had someone to ensure her safety and enjoyment on board. However, as days passed, the frequency and length of our conversations dwindled. Megan's voice seemed distant, and her words lacked the usual warmth. She often talked about the parties and activities on the yacht, frequently mentioning Jackson's name. I couldn't shake off a growing sense of unease. One evening, I overheard Megan laughing heartily on a call. When I asked who it was, she brushed it off, claiming it was a new friend she had made. The unease deepened, but I chose to trust her. When the cruise finally ended, Megan returned home looking radiant, but there was something different about her. She seemed happy, yet there was an unfamiliar distance in her demeanor. I couldn't put my finger on it until I stumbled upon a letter in her bag, addressed to her from Jackson. It was filled with romantic language, leaving no doubt about their affair. Confronting Megan was one of the hardest things I've ever done. At first, she denied everything, but eventually, she confessed to a brief fling with the captain. She explained that Jackson had made her feel special in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. It was a whirlwind of emotions, a momentary lapse that she deeply regretted. I was shattered, but as I reflected on our marriage, I realized that we had both been drifting apart for some time. Megan's affair was a symptom of deeper issues in our relationship. She begged for forgiveness, and though it was incredibly painful, I decided to give our marriage another chance. We began seeing a marriage counselor and working diligently to rebuild our relationship. It was a grueling process, but we slowly started to regain trust and intimacy. Megan's genuine remorse and effort to make amends played a crucial role in our healing journey. In the end, our relationship emerged stronger. We learned to appreciate and prioritize each other, understanding that true love requires constant effort and mutual support. Megan's affair, while a painful chapter, became a pivotal lesson that ultimately brought us closer together. Megan had only been gone for a day when I received the first of her many calls from the yacht. Her voice was filled with excitement as she described the opulent interior of the ship and the stunning ocean views. It sounded like a dream vacation, and I was genuinely happy for her. "Meg, it sounds amazing. I'm so glad you're having a great time," I told her, trying to match her enthusiasm. "It really is, Matt," she replied. "And guess what? I met the captain today. His name is Jackson. He's really nice and has been so helpful with everything." "That's great. It's good to know you have someone trustworthy in charge," I said, though a tiny pang of jealousy flickered in my chest. It was quickly dismissed. After all, Megan deserved to have a good time. The next few days were filled with sporadic updates from Megan. She seemed to be having the time of her life, attending various events and exploring new places. Jackson's name popped up frequently in our conversations. She mentioned how he showed her around the ship, invited her to dine with the crew, and even organized a special tour of the captain's quarters for her. As her calls became less frequent, I started to notice a change in her tone. The enthusiasm was still there, but the warmth directed toward me seemed to be waning. Our conversations became shorter, more surface level. When I asked about her day, she would often mention Jackson, recounting their interactions in great detail. One evening, as I sat alone in our living room, I decided to call her. The phone rang several times before she picked up, her voice breathless and distant. "Hey, Matt," she said. "Sorry, I was just in the middle of something." "No worries, I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing," I replied, trying to hide my disappointment. "I'm good, really good. We just had this amazing dinner party on deck," she said, her voice brightening. "Jackson was there, and he really knows how to throw a party." It was then that I realized I hadn't heard Megan laugh like this in a long time. She sounded genuinely happy, almost carefree. But there was something unsettling about the way she spoke about Jackson. That's great, Meg. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself, I said, forcing a smile. Just don't forget to think about me once in a while. I won't, she promised, but her voice seemed to lack conviction. As the days turned into weeks, her calls grew even more infrequent. I tried to keep myself busy, but I couldn't shake off the nagging feeling that something was wrong. When Megan finally returned home, she was a picture of happiness, yet there was a strange distance in her eyes. "How was the cruise?" I asked, trying to gauge her mood. "It was incredible, Matt. Just what I needed," she replied, but her eyes avoided mine. That evening, as she unpacked her bags, I found a letter tucked inside one of her suitcases. It was from Jackson, written in a romantic and intimate tone that left no room for doubt. My heart sank as I read the words, realizing that my worst fears had come true. When I confronted Megan, she initially denied everything, but eventually, the truth came out. She confessed to a brief affair with Jackson, explaining that he had made her feel special and alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. The betrayal cut deep, but as we talked, I began to see the cracks in our marriage that had led us to this point. Megan's remorse was evident, and she begged for my forgiveness. It was one of the hardest decisions I had to make, but I chose to give her, and our marriage, another chance. We started seeing a counselor and worked hard to rebuild the trust and intimacy that had been lost. Looking back, the cruise had been a turning point. It exposed the weaknesses in our relationship, but it also gave us the opportunity to address them and grow stronger together. Through the pain and heartache, we rediscovered our love and commitment to each other, learning that true happiness requires effort, understanding, and mutual support. Returning home from the port after seeing Megan off, I tried to focus on work and our daily routines, but there was an underlying tension that I couldn't shake. It was strange not having her around, and I found myself missing her more than I anticipated. Our house felt emptier without her laughter and presence. Megan's calls started off frequent and full of excitement. She would tell me about the breathtaking sunsets over the ocean and the vibrant social events on the yacht. Jackson's name began to come up more often, each mention accompanied by a story of his kindness or humor. At first, I didn't think much of it. After all, she was on a ship, and it was natural for her to interact with the crew, especially the captain. One evening, while I was preparing dinner, Megan called, and I could hear the sound of music and laughter in the background. She sounded happy, more carefree than I'd heard her in a long time. "Hey, Matt, you won't believe the dinner we just had. Jackson organized this amazing seafood feast, and there was live music. It was incredible," she exclaimed. "Sounds fantastic, Meg. I'm glad you're having such a great time," I replied, trying to match her enthusiasm. "Yeah, it's been wonderful. Jackson really knows how to make everyone feel special," she said, and I could hear the admiration in her voice. As the days passed, Megan's calls became less frequent. When she did call, our conversations felt increasingly strained. She seemed distracted, and our once intimate chats turned into brief exchanges of pleasantries. One night, as I lay in bed, I decided to surprise her with a late-night call. After several rings, she finally picked up, her voice hushed and a bit breathless. "Hey, Matt. Sorry, I was just stepping out of a dance," she said. "No problem. Just wanted to hear your voice and see how you're doing," I replied. "I'm good, really good. Jackson just taught me how to salsa. It was so much fun," she said, her tone light and airy. "Glad to hear it. I miss you, Meg," I said, hoping she felt the same. "I miss you too," she replied, but there was a slight hesitation that made my heart sink. When Megan finally returned home, she looked radiant, her skin glowing from the sun and her eyes bright. But there was something different about her, a subtle shift that I couldn't quite place. We fell into our routine, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. A few days later, while she was at work, I was cleaning the house and found a letter tucked inside one of her handbags. The handwriting was unfamiliar, and my heart raced as I opened it. The letter was from Jackson, filled with affectionate and romantic sentiments that made my blood run cold. That evening, I confronted Megan with the letter. Her face went pale, and she initially tried to deny it, but eventually the truth came out. She admitted to having a brief affair with Jackson during the cruise. Her eyes filled with tears as she explained that he had made her feel alive and special, feelings she had been missing for a long time. I was devastated, the betrayal cutting deep into my heart. But as the days of Megan's cruise rolled on, I found myself more and more anxious. Her calls, once filled with excitement and vivid descriptions, began to dwindle. When we did speak, her voice seemed distant, and our conversations felt more like formalities than the deep, meaningful exchanges we used to share. One evening, after another short, impersonal phone call with Megan, I decided to call her back. The phone rang several times before she answered, her voice hushed and distracted. "Hey, Matt, everything okay?" she asked, sounding out of breath. "Yeah, I miss you. I wanted to talk a bit longer," I replied, trying to mask my worry. "I'm sorry, I'm just in the middle of something," she said quickly. "I'll call you back later, okay?" Before I could respond, the line went dead. My heart sank as I stared at the phone, feeling more alone than ever. Something was definitely wrong, but I had no way of knowing what was really happening on that yacht. When Megan finally returned home, I was eager to hear all about her trip. But as she walked through the door, there was an air of detachment about her. She smiled and hugged me, but it felt hollow. "How was the cruise?" I asked, hoping to draw her out. "It was great, Matt. Really amazing," she said, her eyes not quite meeting mine. That night, while Megan was unpacking, I noticed a letter sticking out of her suitcase. Curiosity got the better of me, and I pulled it out. It was from Jackson, and as I read the romantic, intimate words, my heart sank. Confronting Megan about the letter was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. She tried to deny it at first, but the truth soon spilled out. She confessed to having a brief affair with Jackson, saying that he made her feel special and alive in a way she hadn't felt in years. The betrayal cut deep, but as we talked late into the night, the picture became clearer. Our marriage had been on autopilot for too long. We had both been so wrapped up in our own worlds that we had neglected each other. Megan's affair, as painful as it was a wake-up call for us both. Seeing her remorse and genuine regret, I decided to give our marriage another chance. We started seeing a counselor, trying to rebuild the trust that had been shattered. It wasn't easy, and there were many moments when I doubted whether we could make it through. But slowly, day by day, we began to reconnect. We spent more time together, talking openly about our feelings and fears. We made a conscious effort to prioritize our relationship, something we had both neglected for far too long. Through this difficult journey, we discovered a renewed sense of love and commitment. The cruise, which had seemed like a dream vacation, turned out to be a turning point for our marriage. It forced us to face our problems head-on and ultimately made us stronger. Megan and I learned that true love requires constant effort and communication. The affair was a painful chapter in our story, but it also taught us valuable lessons about ourselves and our relationship. We emerged from the ordeal with a deeper understanding of each other and a renewed commitment to making our marriage work. A few days after Megan's return, I started noticing subtle but unmistakable changes in her behavior. She was more withdrawn, often lost in thought, and our conversations felt forced. It was as if a barrier had been erected between us, one I couldn't penetrate. One evening, I decided to take action. I suggested we go out for dinner, hoping a change of scenery might help us reconnect. Megan agreed, albeit with a hint of reluctance. We chose a quaint little restaurant that we used to frequent during the early years of our relationship, hoping to recapture some of the old magic. As we sat down and ordered, I tried to engage her in conversation, asking about her work and her friends. She responded politely but without enthusiasm. It was clear that something was still weighing heavily on her mind. "Meg, we need to talk," I finally said, setting my fork down and looking her in the eyes. She sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I know, Matt. I've been avoiding it, but we can't keep pretending everything is fine." "I found Jackson's letter," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I need to understand what happened." Megan's eyes filled with tears, and she nodded. "I was going to tell you, but I didn't know how. The cruise, it was like stepping into another world. Jackson made me feel special, alive. I know it sounds like a cliché, but I was so swept up in the moment that I lost sight of everything else." I listened, my heart aching but determined to understand. "Why didn't you tell me you were feeling this way? We could have worked through it together." "I didn't realize how disconnected we had become," she admitted. "We've both been so busy, and I felt like we were just going through the motions. Jackson was a wake-up call, but I never wanted to hurt you." The honesty in her voice was palpable, and for the first time, I saw the depth of her regret. We sat in silence for a few moments, letting the weight of her words sink in. "I want to move past this, Meg," I said finally, "but we can't do it alone. We need help. She nodded, wiping her tears. I've been thinking the same thing. We need to talk to someone, a counselor, and figure out where we went wrong. The next day, we made an appointment with a marriage counselor. The sessions were tough, forcing us to confront the issues we'd been avoiding for years. We talked about our fears, our disappointments, and the ways we'd let each other down. It was painful, but it was also cathartic. The counselor helped us see that the affair was a symptom of deeper problems in our relationship. We had to rebuild our foundation, brick by brick, if we wanted to move forward. It was a daunting task, but we were both committed to making it work. Slowly, we began to rediscover each other. We started spending more quality time together, going on dates, and taking up new hobbies as a couple. We learned to communicate more openly, expressing our needs and desires without fear of judgment. There were still moments of doubt and pain, but they became fewer as we continued to heal. Megan's affair, as devastating as it was, became a catalyst for change. It forced us to confront the flaws in our relationship and gave us the opportunity to rebuild something stronger and more resilient. As we navigated this difficult journey, I began to see Megan not as the woman who had betrayed me, but as the woman who was willing to fight for our marriage. Her commitment to making things right, her willingness to face her mistakes and work through them, renewed my faith in her and in our love. The process was far from easy, but with each step forward, we grew closer. We learned that true love requires effort, understanding, and a willingness to forgive. Through the pain and the tears, we found a new beginning, one that was built on a foundation of trust and mutual respect. In the end, Megan's affair was a turning point in our relationship. It was a painful chapter, but it also marked the beginning of a new and stronger bond between us. We emerged from the ordeal with a deeper understanding of each other and a renewed commitment to our marriage, determined to face whatever challenges came our way together. A few weeks into our counseling sessions, I started to notice the first signs of real change. The tension that had clouded our home was beginning to lift, and Megan seemed more present, more engaged. We were far from healed, but we were making progress. One evening, after a particularly tough session, we sat on the porch, watching the sunset. It was a quiet, reflective moment, and I felt the need to break the silence. "Meg, do you remember our first date?" I asked, smiling at the memory. She looked at me, her eyes softening. "Of course I do. We went to that little Italian place downtown. You spilled your drink on your shirt and were so embarrassed." I laughed, the memory warming my heart. "Yeah, and you laughed and said it made me look human. That was the moment I knew I was falling for you." She reached out, taking my hand. "I remember. That was a good night." We sat in silence for a while, the memories of our early days together bringing a sense of nostalgia. It was a reminder of what we were fighting for. The next day, I found a small wrapped gift on my pillow. Confused, I picked it up and opened it. Inside was a journal with a note from Megan. "Let's write our story, the good and the bad. Let's remember why we fell in love and how we can keep growing together." Touched, I took the journal and started writing. I wrote about our first date, our first fight, the moment we decided to get married. Megan added her own memories, and soon the journal became a symbol of our journey. As we continued counseling, the journal helped us reconnect with our past and envision a future together. We documented our progress, our setbacks, and our hopes. It was a therapeutic exercise that brought us closer. One weekend, we decided to take a trip to the mountains, a place we used to visit often but had neglected over the years. The fresh air and the serene landscape provided a much-needed escape from the stress of our daily lives. We hiked, cooked meals together, and talked about our dreams and fears. One evening, by the campfire, Megan looked at me with tears in her eyes. "Matt, I know I've hurt you deeply. I can't change the past, but I want you to know that I'm committed to us. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." Her sincerity moved me. "Meg, I believe you. This hasn't been easy for either of us, but I see how hard you're trying. I want us to move forward together." That night, under the stars, we made a pact. We promised to always communicate openly, to never take each other for granted, and to make time for each other, no matter how busy life got. It was a fresh start, a new beginning. Returning home, we continued our efforts to rebuild our relationship. The changes were small but significant. We cooked dinner together more often, took evening walks, and made time for date nights. The intimacy that had been lost was slowly being rekindled. There were still moments of pain and doubt, but they became less frequent. Our bond was growing stronger, and we were learning to trust each other again. The journey was far from over, but we were making progress. One day, as I was flipping through our journal, I came across a passage Megan had written. True love is not just about the good times. It's about weathering the storms together and coming out stronger on the other side. Matt, thank you for standing by me. I love you more than words can express. Reading her words, I felt a surge of hope. We had faced a devastating challenge, but we were emerging from it stronger and more united. Our love was evolving, becoming something deeper and more resilient. In the end, Megan's affair, painful as it was, had forced us to confront the flaws in our relationship and work through them. It was a turning point that led to a renewed commitment to each other. We had learned valuable lessons about love, forgiveness, and the importance of constant effort in maintaining a healthy relationship. We were on the path to healing, and while the journey was far from over, I was confident that we could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, we were building a stronger, more loving relationship, one that could withstand the test of time. As the weeks turned into months, Megan and I continued our journey of rebuilding trust and rekindling our relationship. The changes were not always dramatic, but they were meaningful. Every small step we took brought us closer together, reinforcing our commitment to each other. One Saturday morning, Megan suggested we take a day trip to the beach. It had been years since we'd gone, and the idea of spending a carefree day by the ocean sounded perfect. We packed a picnic, grabbed our old beach chairs, and set off for the coast. The drive was filled with laughter and music, a refreshing change from the tension that had dominated our lives for so long. When we arrived, we found a quiet spot away from the crowds and set up our little camp. The sound of the waves crashing and the smell of the salty air felt like a cleansing balm for our weary souls. We spent the day swimming, playing in the sand, and talking about everything and nothing. It was a reminder of simpler times, a glimpse of the joy we once shared. As the sun began to set, we walked along the shore, hand in hand, the golden light casting a warm glow over the water. Meg, this feels good, I said, squeezing her hand. Just being here with you, like this. She smiled, her eyes reflecting the sunset. It does. I've missed this, Matt. I've missed us. We stood there watching the sun dip below the horizon, a silent promise of new beginnings. That evening, as we drove home, I felt a renewed sense of hope. We were finding our way back to each other, one step at a time. Back home, our efforts to reconnect continued. We established a weekly date night, something we had let slip in the busyness of our lives. Whether it was going out to dinner, watching a movie, or just taking a walk, we made sure to set aside time for just the two of us. One night, as we sat on the couch, Megan turned to me with a thoughtful expression. Matt, I've been thinking, maybe we should take a dance class together. Remember how much fun we had at our wedding, dancing the night away? I chuckled, the memory bringing a smile to my face. Yeah, I remember. We were pretty good, weren't we? Well, I found a local class that starts next week. It could be a fun way to reconnect and try something new together, she suggested. I agreed, and the following week, we found ourselves in a small dance studio, surrounded by other couples. The first few classes were a bit awkward, as we fumbled through the steps and laughed at our mistakes. But as the weeks went by, we found our rhythm, both on the dance floor and in our relationship. The dance class became a symbol of our renewed commitment to each other. It was a reminder that love requires effort, patience, and a willingness to step outside our comfort zones. Each time we danced, we grew a little closer, our bond a little stronger. Our counselor also played a crucial role in our healing process. The sessions helped us navigate the complex emotions we were experiencing, providing us with tools to communicate more effectively and address the underlying issues in our relationship. We learned to listen without judgment, to express our needs and fears openly, and to support each other through the ups and downs. One day, after a particularly insightful session, Megan turned to me as we walked back to the car. Matt, I'm grateful for everything we've been through. It hasn't been easy, but it's brought us to a better place. I feel like we're stronger now, more connected. I nodded, feeling a deep sense of agreement. I feel the same way, Meg. This journey has been tough, but it's shown me how much we can overcome together. As we continued to rebuild our relationship, I noticed a change in both of us. We were more attentive, more present in each other's lives. The small gestures, the daily acts of love and kindness began to add up, creating a foundation of trust and intimacy. There were still moments of doubt and pain, but they were overshadowed by the progress we were making. Each day was a step forward, a testament to our resilience and determination to make our marriage work. Megan and I had come a long way since the day she returned from the cruise. The journey was far from over, but we were on the right path. We had learned to value each other, to prioritize our relationship, and to face our challenges head-on. In the end, the affair had been a turning point, a catalyst for change. It forced us to confront our weaknesses and rebuild our relationship from the ground up. And while the road ahead was still uncertain, we were walking it together, hand in hand, ready to face whatever came our way. Our love, once tested and strained, was now stronger, deeper, and more resilient. We had found our way back to each other, and with each passing day, we continued to build a future filled with hope, love, and unwavering commitment. Months passed, and Megan and I continued to grow closer. Our relationship was stronger than it had been in years, but I couldn't shake a lingering sense of unease. I trusted Megan's commitment to our marriage, but a part of me still struggled with the betrayal. One day, while sorting through old photos, I found a picture from our honeymoon. We were both so young, carefree, and deeply in love. The image brought a lump to my throat. I missed that simplicity, that sense of security. That evening, as we sat down for dinner, I decided to share my feelings with Megan. "Meg, I've been thinking a lot about us, about how far we've come," I began, pushing the photo across the table toward her. She looked at the picture and smiled wistfully. "We were so happy back then." "We were," I agreed, "and I think we're on our way back to that place. But there's something I need to address, something I can't seem to move past." She set the photo down and looked at me, concern in her eyes. "What is it, Matt?" "It's about Jackson," I said, taking a deep breath. "I need to know more about what happened. I need to understand why it happened. Maybe it's the only way I can truly move on." Megan nodded slowly. "I understand. Ask me anything. I'll be completely honest." We spent the next few hours talking about her time on the yacht. She explained how lonely and disconnected she had felt, how Jackson's attention had filled a void she didn't even realize existed. She recounted how it started with innocent conversations, which gradually became more intimate. She admitted that she had been swept away by the excitement and the novelty, but also that she deeply regretted the pain it had caused. Her honesty was both painful and healing. It was as if a weight had been lifted from my chest. Understanding her perspective helped me to see that the affair was not just a betrayal, but a symptom of deeper issues in our marriage. It wasn't about Jackson. It was about us. "Thank you for telling me," I said, feeling a sense of closure. "I think I needed to hear it to finally move forward." "I'm glad we talked about it," Megan replied, her eyes reflecting her sincerity. "I want us to heal completely, Matt. I want us to be stronger than ever." In the weeks that followed, I felt a renewed sense of clarity. Megan and I continued to work on our relationship, but this time, there was a deeper understanding between us. We were not just addressing the surface issues, we were tackling the root causes. One evening, while we were preparing dinner together, Megan turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "Matt, I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" I asked, chopping vegetables. "I think we should take a trip together, just the two of us, somewhere we've never been before. A fresh start, a chance to create new memories." I considered her suggestion, feeling a sense of excitement. "I think that's a great idea. Where do you want to go?" "How about Italy?" she suggested, her eyes lighting up. "We've always talked about going, but never made the time." "Italy it is," I agreed, feeling a sense of anticipation. We spent the next few weeks planning our trip, researching destinations and making arrangements. It felt good to focus on something positive, something that represented a new beginning for us. When we finally arrived in Italy, it was like stepping into a dream. The beauty of the landscapes, the richness of the culture, and the warmth of the people were overwhelming. We explored ancient ruins, wandered through charming villages, and indulged in delicious food and wine. But more than the sights and experiences, it was the time spent together that mattered the most. We talked, laughed, and rediscovered each other in ways we hadn't for years. Each day was a new adventure, a new opportunity to strengthen our bond. One evening, as we sat on a balcony overlooking the Tuscan countryside, Megan took my hand. "Matt, I want you to know that I'm committed to us, to our future. This trip has shown me how much we still have to look forward to." "I feel the same way," I replied, squeezing her hand. "We've been through a lot, but we're stronger for it. I love you, Meg, and I always will." As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the rolling hills, I felt a profound sense of peace. The journey we had been on was not easy, but it had brought us to a place of deeper understanding and love. We were not just rebuilding our marriage. We were creating something new, something even more beautiful than before. Italy became a symbol of our renewed commitment, a reminder that true love is not just about the good times, but about facing challenges together and emerging stronger. As we boarded the plane to head back home, I felt a sense of gratitude for the journey we had taken and the future that lay ahead. Our love, tested and renewed, was now stronger than ever. We had faced our fears, confronted our past, and found a way to move forward together. The path was still uncertain, but I knew that as long as we were together, we could face anything. Returning home from Italy, Megan and I felt more connected than ever. The trip had been a much-needed reset, allowing us to focus on each other and our future. However, reality quickly set in as we returned to our daily routines, and the challenges of everyday life tested our newfound harmony. One evening, as we settled back into our routine, I received a call from an unknown number. Hesitant, I answered, only to hear a familiar voice on the other end. "Hello, Matt, it's Jackson." My heart pounded as I gripped the phone tighter. "Jackson, what do you want?" "I need to talk to you. It's important," he said, his tone serious. I was taken aback. The last thing I wanted was to hear from the man who had nearly destroyed my marriage. "I don't think we have anything to talk about." "Please, just give me a few minutes," he pleaded. "I think it might help you understand some things." Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him. The next day, we met at a small cafe, far from the prying eyes of anyone who might recognize us. Jackson looked different, more subdued. He seemed genuinely remorseful, and his first words confirmed it. "Matt, I want to start by saying I'm sorry. I never meant to cause you or Megan any pain." I remained silent, waiting for him to continue. "I know what I did was wrong, and I regret it deeply," he said, looking down at his hands. "But there's something you need to know. Megan wasn't the only one who felt lonely and disconnected. I was too, and that's why we connected the way we did." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "What are you trying to say, Jackson?" "I'm saying that Megan's feelings were real and so were mine, but it was a mistake, a terrible one. I should have respected your marriage and kept my distance," he admitted, his voice filled with regret. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked, still unsure of his intentions. "Because I want you to understand that it wasn't about you. It was about the void we both felt in our lives, and I want you to know that I'm leaving. I've taken a job on another yacht, far away from here. You won't have to worry about seeing me again," he explained. I nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and lingering anger. "I appreciate your honesty, Jackson, but it doesn't change what happened. Megan and I are working through it, and we're stronger now because of it." "I'm glad to hear that," he said, standing up. "I wish you both the best, Matt, truly." As Jackson left, I sat there for a while, processing our conversation. His words had stirred up old emotions, but they also provided a sense of closure. I realized that I needed to let go of the past to fully embrace the future Megan and I were building. When I got home, I told Megan about the meeting. She listened intently, her expression a mix of surprise and concern. "Are you okay?" she asked, reaching out to hold my hand. "I am," I replied, squeezing her hand. "It was hard, but I think it was necessary. We needed that closure." "I'm sorry you had to go through that," she said softly, "but I'm glad you did. It means a lot that you told me." "We're in this together, Meg," I said, feeling a renewed sense of determination. "No more secrets, no more hiding. We face everything head-on, together." In the following weeks, our relationship continued to strengthen. We were more open with each other, more honest about our feelings and fears. The transparency brought a new level of intimacy and trust, something we hadn't experienced in years. We also made a conscious effort to nurture our relationship. We started planning regular getaways, even if they were just weekend trips to nearby towns. We took up new hobbies together, like cooking and hiking, finding joy in shared experiences. One Saturday, while hiking a nearby trail, Megan turned to me with a smile. "Matt, do you ever think about renewing our vows?" The question caught me off guard, but I quickly realized how much it meant to both of us. "I do. I think it would be a beautiful way to celebrate our journey and our commitment to each other." We began planning a small ceremony, inviting only our closest family and friends. It was a chance to reaffirm our love and dedication, to acknowledge the struggles we had overcome and the strength we had found in each other. On the day of the ceremony, as we stood before our loved ones, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Megan and I had faced one of the greatest challenges of our lives, but we had come out stronger, more united than ever. As we exchanged vows, I looked into her eyes and saw the depth of her love and commitment. "Megan, I promise to love you, to cherish you, and to stand by you through all of life's challenges. We faced the storm, and we've come out stronger. I am forever yours." With tears in her eyes, Megan responded, "Matt, I promise to love you, to honor you, and to support you. Our journey has made us stronger, and I am grateful for every moment we've shared. I am forever yours." The ceremony was a celebration of our resilience, our love, and our unwavering commitment to each other. It marked a new beginning, a fresh start filled with hope and promise. As we moved forward, I knew there would still be challenges, but I also knew that we could face anything together. Our love had been tested and had emerged stronger, a testament to the power of forgiveness, understanding, and true commitment. The journey was far from over, but with Megan by my side, I felt ready to face whatever the future held. Together, we would continue to build a life filled with love, trust, and endless possibilities. Several months had passed since our vow renewal ceremony, and Megan and I continued to cherish the newfound strength in our relationship. Our renewed commitment to communication and honesty had become the cornerstone of our marriage. Despite the challenges we had faced, we felt more connected and resilient than ever before. One afternoon, Megan approached me with a thoughtful expression. "Matt, I've been thinking about our future. I know we've come a long way, but I feel like there's still something missing." Her words caught me off guard, but I could sense the sincerity in her voice. "What do you mean, Meg? We've been doing so well." "I know, and I'm grateful for that," she said, sitting down beside me. "But I can't help but feel like we need to do more, like there's a bigger purpose waiting for us." I furrowed my brow, trying to understand. "Are you talking about our careers? Our family?" She shook her head gently. "It's more than that. I want us to make a difference, to give back in some way. Maybe it's volunteering or starting a charity, or even just helping others in our community." Her words struck a chord with me. I had always admired Megan's compassion and her desire to make a positive impact. "That's a wonderful idea, Meg. What did you have in mind?" "I've been researching local organizations," she explained, pulling out her laptop. "There are so many ways we can get involved, from mentoring young adults to helping at animal shelters. I think we should start small and see where it takes us." I nodded, feeling a sense of excitement. "I like that idea. It's important to us, to our relationship." Over the next few weeks, we explored different volunteer opportunities together, trying out various activities to find where our passions aligned. We helped serve meals at a homeless shelter, organized a community cleanup day, and even spent time reading to children at a local library. Each experience brought us closer together, reinforcing our shared values and deepening our connection. We discovered that giving back not only fulfilled a sense of purpose, but also strengthened our bond as a couple. One evening, after a particularly rewarding day volunteering at a food bank, Megan turned to me with a smile. "Matt, I'm so glad we decided to do this together. It feels right, doesn't it?" "It does," I agreed wholeheartedly, feeling a sense of fulfillment I hadn't felt in a long time. I never realized how much joy there is in helping others. As we continued our volunteer work, we also began discussing our long-term goals and aspirations. Megan expressed interest in going back to school to pursue a degree in social work, while I considered ways to integrate our volunteer efforts into my own career. One weekend, as we sat down to discuss our future plans, Megan shared a surprising idea. "Matt, what if we start our own nonprofit? something that combines our passions and allows us to make an even greater impact. I paused, considering her suggestion carefully. That's a big step, Meg. Are you sure we're ready for something like that? She nodded confidently. I think we are. We have the passion, the dedication, and now the experience. Together, we can do something meaningful. I couldn't deny the excitement in her voice or the fire in her eyes. Okay, let's do it. Let's start planning. And so we embarked on a new chapter together, working late into the night brainstorming ideas, drafting mission statements, and reaching out to potential partners. It was a challenging journey, filled with uncertainties and setbacks, but we faced them together with determination and optimism. Months turned into years as our nonprofit, focused on empowering underprivileged youth through education and mentorship, grew from a shared dream into a thriving reality. We faced obstacles along the way, but each challenge only strengthened our resolve and deepened our bond. Looking back, I realized that Megan's desire to give back had not only enriched our lives, but had also brought us closer together as partners. Our journey was not without its ups and downs, but through it all, we had found a deeper purpose and a shared vision for the future. As we celebrated the success of our nonprofit and reflected on our journey, I knew that our love had grown stronger because of our commitment to each other and to making a difference in the world. Megan's compassion had always been a beacon of light in our relationship, and now, together, we were shining that light even brighter. Our love story had evolved beyond the trials of the past into a tale of resilience, unity, and unwavering support. Together, we had found our purpose, our passion, and our forever in each other's hearts. Sure, here's a summary of the 10th chapter, based on the plan. After discovering Megan's brief affair with Captain Jackson, I struggled with conflicting emotions of hurt and betrayal. Confronting Megan was difficult, but necessary for us to move forward. She initially denied everything, but eventually confessed tearfully, explaining how Jackson's attention had made her feel valued and alive again. Despite the pain, I chose to forgive her, recognizing our shared responsibility for growing apart in our marriage. We decided to seek professional help and started seeing a marriage counselor. The sessions were emotionally draining, but helped us understand the deeper issues that led to Megan's infidelity. Gradually, through open communication and commitment, we began rebuilding trust. Megan's remorse and efforts to regain my trust were evident, and I realized I still loved her deeply. Over time, our relationship strengthened as we worked through our vulnerabilities and renewed our commitment to each other. The affair became a catalyst for positive change, teaching us that true love requires continuous effort and mutual support. As I reflected on Megan's affair with Captain Jackson, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal and sadness. Despite my efforts to understand and forgive, doubts and questions lingered in my mind. Was our marriage truly lacking something significant? Could I have done more to prevent this? I spent many sleepless nights pondering these questions. Our journey together had been marked by ups and downs, but I never expected such a breach of trust. Megan's explanation about feeling neglected in our marriage resonated deeply with me. Had I become complacent, taking our love for granted? Navigating these thoughts was like walking through a maze of emotions. Anger, hurt, and a lingering sense of loss battled against the love I still held for Megan. Could I trust her again? Was our love strong enough to withstand this test? The sessions with our family therapist provided some clarity. We delved into the underlying issues that contributed to Megan's vulnerability and my emotional detachment. It was a painful process, but necessary for healing. Megan's remorse and efforts to rebuild our relationship were evident, yet I struggled to fully let go of the pain. In moments of solitude, I revisited our happiest memories and realized how much I cherished our life together. Megan's smile, her laughter, and the way she supported my dreams. These were the things I couldn't easily discard. But the betrayal gnawed at the foundation of our trust. I knew forgiving Megan was a choice I had to make for myself as much as for our marriage. It meant accepting her flaws and acknowledging my own shortcomings. The road ahead seemed daunting, but I couldn't deny the flicker of hope that we could emerge stronger from this crisis. As we continued our therapy sessions and gradually rebuilt trust, I began to see glimmers of the woman I fell in love with. Megan's commitment to our future together reassured me that she was as invested as I was in repairing our bond. Our love story had taken an unexpected turn, but it was far from over. We were learning that love, like a fragile vessel on tumultuous waters, required constant navigation and mutual effort to stay afloat. In the midst of pain and forgiveness, I found solace in the belief that our love was worth fighting for. After Megan confessed and sought forgiveness, I faced the daunting task of rebuilding trust. Every moment with her was shadowed by memories of her affair with Captain Jackson. Yet I chose to give our marriage another chance, knowing that healing required both forgiveness and a willingness to move forward. Our sessions with the family psychologist became a lifeline. Together, we explored the depths of our emotions and the fractures in our relationship that had led us astray. Megan's commitment to the process was reassuring, and gradually I began to see her efforts as genuine. The road to rebuilding trust was fraught with challenges. I struggled with insecurities and fears of being betrayed again. Megan, sensing my hesitations, became more transparent and patient than ever before. She answered my questions honestly and reassured me of her love and commitment. Small gestures of kindness and understanding slowly melted the walls around my heart. Megan's determination to regain my trust mirrored my own desire to believe in our future together. We shared moments of vulnerability and strength, learning to communicate more openly and empathetically. As time passed, the wounds of betrayal began to heal, replaced by a newfound resilience in our relationship. I saw Megan's remorse not as a burden, but as a testament to her growth and dedication to our marriage. We celebrated our victories and supported each other through setbacks, knowing that trust was a fragile gift we both cherished. The journey toward rebuilding trust wasn't linear. There were setbacks and doubts along the way, yet each hurdle we overcame strengthened our bond. Megan's unwavering love and commitment became the bedrock upon which we rebuilt our shared dreams and aspirations. Through forgiveness and mutual understanding, we discovered a deeper connection that transcended the pain of the past. Our renewed commitment to each other became a beacon of hope, guiding us toward a future where our love could withstand any storm. With each therapy session, Megan and I delved deeper into our relationship dynamics. The family psychologist guided us through exercises that uncovered our vulnerabilities and strengths. Megan's determination to mend our bond mirrored my own, and together, we committed to a path of healing. Our discussions weren't easy. We confronted painful truths about neglect and miscommunication that had festered over time. Megan tearfully acknowledged how her actions had hurt me, expressing remorse that touched me deeply. In turn, I admitted my own shortcomings as a partner, realizing how my distractions had contributed to our marital distance. The psychologist provided tools for rebuilding trust, communication strategies, exercises in empathy, and techniques to manage triggers from the affair. Megan and I practiced active listening, each striving to understand the other's perspective without judgment. As weeks turned into months, subtle shifts began to manifest in our relationship. Megan's efforts to reassure me were genuine and consistent. She patiently answered my questions and offered reassurances of her commitment. I, in turn, learned to temper my doubts with moments of gratitude for her renewed devotion. Outside of therapy, we explored new hobbies together, rediscovering the joy of shared interests. Our laughter became more frequent, infused with a deeper appreciation for the simple pleasures of companionship. Date nights became opportunities for intimate conversations and rekindling the affection that had once defined us. Through mutual support and vulnerability, we began to forge a new bond, one strengthened by the challenges we had overcome. Megan's determination to regain my trust inspired me, reinforcing my belief in our ability to navigate any future obstacles together. The scars of betrayal hadn't vanished entirely, but they no longer dictated our present. Instead, they served as reminders of our resilience and the transformative power of forgiveness. We celebrated each milestone, however small, as a testament to our commitment to one another. Our journey wasn't without setbacks. Moments of doubt and insecurity still surfaced, threatening to unravel our progress. Yet, with each setback, we emerged stronger, our love tempered by the trials we had faced. As we looked toward the future, I felt a renewed sense of hope. Our marriage, once shaken to its core, had emerged from the ashes of betrayal, stronger and more resilient. Megan and I had learned that true love wasn't just about passion and romance. It was about choosing each other every day, even in the face of imperfection. As Megan and I continued our journey of rebuilding trust, our efforts began to bear fruit. The sessions with our family psychologist became less about confronting the past and more about forging a future together. We practiced open communication, expressing our fears and hopes without reservation. One evening, as we sat across from each other at our favorite cafe, Megan surprised me with a small box. Inside was a beautifully crafted bracelet, a symbol of her commitment to our renewed relationship. Tears welled up in my eyes as I realized how far we had come since the betrayal. "I want us to renew our vows," Megan said softly, her voice tinged with emotion. "Not just in front of others, but between just us, to reaffirm our love and dedication." Her words resonated deeply within me. We had weathered the storm, navigated through pain and uncertainty, and emerged stronger together. I nodded, my heart swelling with love and forgiveness. In the weeks leading up to our private vow renewal ceremony, we spent hours planning and reminiscing. Megan poured her heart into every detail, from selecting our vows to choosing the location, a quiet garden where we had shared picnics in happier times. On the chosen day, surrounded by the serenity of nature, Megan and I stood hand in hand. Her eyes sparkled with tears of joy and redemption as we recited our vows, promising to cherish and support each other through life's joys and challenges. With each word spoken, I felt a weight lift from my heart. Megan's sincerity and remorse were palpable, her commitment unwavering. We exchanged rings, a symbolic gesture of our renewed bond, forged through hardship and strengthened by forgiveness. After the ceremony, we lingered in the garden, basking in the warmth of reconciliation. The air seemed lighter, infused with a newfound sense of hope and possibility. Megan leaned into my embrace, whispering words of gratitude and love. As we walked back to our car, hand in hand, I knew that our journey wasn't over. Rebuilding trust would continue to require patience and understanding. Yet I was filled with optimism, knowing that Megan and I had chosen to fight for our love, and that our commitment to each other was stronger than ever before. With each passing day, Megan and I found ourselves embracing a new chapter in our lives. Our commitment to rebuilding our relationship was steadfast, and the efforts we put into our marriage began to yield profound results. We continued our sessions with the family psychologist, delving deeper into the roots of our issues and learning effective communication strategies. Megan and I both acknowledged our faults and vowed to be more attentive and supportive of each other. One afternoon, Megan surprised me with tickets to a concert by my favorite band. It was a simple gesture, but it spoke volumes about her determination to reconnect and make me feel loved. The concert became a memorable night of laughter and shared joy, reminding us of the things we cherished together. As months passed, our home became a sanctuary of love and understanding. We established new routines that fostered closeness and mutual respect. Megan's efforts to regain my trust were evident in her every action, and I reciprocated by being more open and forgiving. One evening, over a candlelit dinner, we reflected on our journey. "I never want to lose what we have again," Megan confessed, her eyes shimmering with sincerity. "Our love has grown deeper through everything we've faced." I nodded, touched by her words. "Me neither. We've learned so much about ourselves and each other. I'm grateful for the chance to build a stronger future together." The nights of doubt and pain were gradually replaced by moments of laughter and shared dreams. Megan and I rediscovered the joy of companionship. Whether it was cooking together, taking walks in the park, or simply enjoying each other's presence. One sunny weekend, we decided to revisit the spot where we had our first date. As we sat on the bench overlooking the lake, I took Megan's hand in mine and whispered, "I love you." She smiled, her eyes filled with warmth. "I love you too, more than words can say." In that moment, I knew that despite the challenges we had faced, our love had not only endured, but had flourished. Our journey had taught us that true love requires continuous effort and understanding, and we were committed to nurturing it for the rest of our lives. Be sure to subscribe
As we walked
so
back
you
to our
don't miss
car,
out on new videos.
I felt a
renewed sense of hope and gratitude. Megan squeezed my hand, and I knew that together, we had forged a bond that was unbreakable.